At a training seminar, my coworker giggled loudly. Honestly, she's here because they needed a diversity hire. Bless her heart, she tries. I sat frozen as she leaned over to the trainer and whispered, "Don't worry, she'll probably flunk out anyway." Instead of reacting, I passed every certification with top scores, and when promotions were announced, her face twisted in shock as my name was called, and hers wasn't even mentioned. Hey Reddit, I've been holding on to this story for a while. Every time I think about it, I still get this tight feeling in my chest, half anger, half pride. Thought maybe it's time to let it out. I work for a mid-sized tech company based out of Austin, Texas. Been there about 3 years now. I'm 35, black, grew up in a small town outside of Houston. When I first joined, it was pretty clear the company didn't have a lot of people who looked like me. I'm not saying they were outright racist, at least not where anyone could hear. But there was always this feeling that I had to work twice as hard just to be seen the same. Anyway, about a year ago, the company rolled out a new leadership training program. Big deal. Word was, if you got in and passed all the certifications, you were almost guaranteed a promotion. Only about 20 people got picked across the whole company. So when I got the acceptance email, I was over the moon. They flew us all out to a hotel conference center about 20 minutes from downtown Austin. First few days went smooth enough. Basic introductions, icebreakers, boring lectures. Everyone was still on their best behavior. That changed on day 3. We had our first big hands-on skills assessment that morning. I got there early, sat near the front, pulled out my notebook and tablet. I was reviewing everything one more time when I heard it, this loud, sharp giggle from a few rows behind me. It was Melissa. I knew her. Worked with her a few times. She was one of those people who always smiled too big, talked too sweet, and you just knew there was poison underneath. She wasn't talking to me, but she wasn't exactly being quiet either. She leaned over to the trainer, some guy named Dave, and said, clear as day, honestly, she's only here because they needed a diversity hire. Bless her heart, she tries. I sat there, staring at my notes like my life depended on it. I thought maybe I misheard. Maybe she didn't mean me. Maybe, nope. A few minutes later, as the trainers handed out the test materials, she whispered again, don't worry, she'll probably flunk out anyway. And then she laughed. Not a fake laugh. A real one. Like it was hilarious to her. I remember feeling my throat tighten up. I wanted to get up and leave. I wanted to turn around and scream at her. I wanted to cry. Instead, I swallowed it. I made a decision right then. I was not going to give her what she wanted. That night, I stayed up until 2 in the morning at the hotel, running practice scenarios over and over. I reread every module, every guidebook. While most of the others were out drinking at the hotel bar, I was in my room, studying like my life depended on it. It wasn't just that I wanted to pass. I needed to pass. I needed to win. The seminar lasted 6 brutal weeks. Every week, there was a different certification to pass. Technical skills, leadership simulations, group projects. It was exhausting. I noticed little things too. Melissa and her little group would whisper when I spoke up during team activities. Sometimes, when I finished presenting, I'd hear quiet giggles from the back. One time, I caught her rolling her eyes when I answered a tough question. But I said nothing. I kept my head down. I kept working. At the end of the training, we had our final exams, the hardest certifications. A written part and a live, hands-on simulation under pressure. I didn't just pass. I scored the highest in the entire cohort. They even gave me a certificate for outstanding performance. I found out later that Melissa barely passed. In fact, she had to retake one of the modules after failing it the first time. I thought that was the end of it. I figured, okay, at least I proved her wrong quietly. I didn't know that karma wasn't done yet. 2 months after we finished the seminar, the company held a big division-wide meeting. They were going to announce promotions from the leadership program. Biggest bosses were there. Regional managers, directors, even the vice president. The conference room was packed. They brought donuts and coffee, tried to make it feel like a celebration. I sat near the back, heart pounding. They started reading names. First one, a guy from sales. Second one, a woman from HR. I started to shrink in my seat a little. I figured, hey, I still have time. Maybe they'll consider me for next round. And then I heard it, promoted to senior project manager. My name, everything slowed down for a second. I stood up on shaking legs. Everyone clapped. I walked to the front to shake hands with the VP, and as I turned, I caught Melissa's face in the crowd. She wasn't clapping anymore. She was just staring. Mouth slightly open. Eyes wide. Frozen. It got even better. After a few more names, they wrapped up the announcements. Melissa's name was never called. Not even once. She didn't get promoted. She didn't even get an honorable mention. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought she would accept it and move on. But Melissa didn't know how to lose quietly. The day after the promotions were announced, I came into work early like usual. Logged into my computer, grabbed a coffee, settled in. About an hour later, my manager called me into his office. "Close the door," he said. His face was tight. I sat down, heart thudding. He slid a folder across the desk to me. Inside were printed emails. Dozens of them. Anonymous complaints, all about me. That I was hard to work with. That I didn't have leadership skills. That I was promoted because of favoritism, not merit. The manager watched my face as I read. "We know who sent them," he said. "And we're handling it. But we wanted you to see it." It was Melissa. She had used an anonymous tip line the company had set up years ago for real harassment claims. Twisting it into her own personal revenge weapon. I felt sick. I thought about every late night I spent studying, every bit of work I had put in, and here she was trying to tear it all down because she couldn't stand that I had won. But the company wasn't stupid. They had records. They had proof of my scores, my evaluations, my work history. They saw right through her. "We're conducting a formal investigation," my manager said. "Keep doing your job. Stay professional. We'll take it from here." The next few weeks were tense. Melissa didn't look at me anymore. She kept her distance, but I could feel her watching me. Every meeting, every hallway run-in, the hatred was coming off her in waves. Then, something strange happened. One afternoon, I got a calendar invite. It was from HR. Subject, mediation meeting. When I showed up, Melissa was already sitting there, arms crossed, looking smug. The HR rep looked uncomfortable. "We're here to discuss some concerns raised by Melissa," she said carefully. "She feels that she's been subjected to an unfair work environment since the promotions." I sat there in shock. She was trying to flip the script. Make herself the victim. Melissa launched into this long, fake story about how I had been excluding her from projects, ignoring her in meetings, undermining her authority. It was all lies. Every word. When she finished, the HR rep turned to me. "Do you have anything you'd like to say?" I took a slow breath. I looked Melissa right in the eyes. "Yes," I said. "I have evidence." I pulled out a folder I had brought with me, detailed notes, emails, meeting minutes, showing every project I had included her on, every chance I had given her to speak up, every time I had treated her like a valued teammate even after what she had done. The HR rep flipped through it, her eyebrows rising higher and higher. Melissa's face got redder and redder. By the end of the meeting, it was clear, Melissa wasn't just petty. She was digging her own grave. After that day, the whispers around the office changed. People started avoiding Melissa. Little by little, her fake smile stopped working. Even her little friend group started keeping their distance. Meanwhile, I was given bigger projects. More responsibilities. I started sitting in on leadership team meetings. And every time I passed her desk, every single time, I felt that same tight ball of anger in my chest loosen a little more. She had tried to destroy me. But all she did was set herself on fire. I thought it was over after the mediation. I thought maybe Melissa would finally realize she lost. I was wrong. A few weeks later, I was working late on a Thursday night, finishing up a project that was supposed to be presented to senior leadership the next morning. I was tired, hungry, ready to just go home, but I wanted it to be perfect. I saved my work carefully every few minutes onto the company's shared drive, just like we were supposed to. Around 9 p.m., I finally shut my laptop, packed up, and went home. The next morning, I got to the office early to do one last review. I opened the project file and froze. It was gone. Not just gone, replaced. Someone had uploaded a different version of my file. A messed up, half-finished version filled with mistakes. It looked sloppy, rushed, amateur. If I had walked into that meeting with this, I would have looked like a complete idiot. I felt a cold chill go down my back. I knew it wasn't an accident. I called IT immediately. Asked them to check the edit history on this shared drive. The IT guy, a quiet older man named Rob, said he'd look into it. An hour later, he called me back. "You need to come down here," he said. I walked into the IT office, and Rob pulled up the log on his computer. Clear as day, there it was. My original file saved at 8:53 p.m. Then, at 10:17 p.m., a different user logged in and uploaded a corrupted version. Guess who? Melissa. Even worse, she had used someone else's computer, one of the public workstations in the lobby. Probably thought she was being slick. But the system still logged her credentials. I sat there, stunned. This wasn't just workplace drama anymore. This was sabotage. This was serious. By noon, I was in a meeting with my manager, the IT head, and HR. Melissa was called in. When they laid out the evidence, she tried to lie. Tried to say her account must have been hacked. Tried to say she wasn't even at the office that late. But the security cameras told the truth. There she was, plain as day, walking into the lobby at 10 p.m. Typing away on the public computer. Leaving 20 minutes later. It was undeniable. For a long moment after they showed the footage, the room was dead silent. Then HR spoke. "Melissa, due to your actions, we are terminating your employment effective immediately. You will be escorted to collect your things." Melissa's mouth dropped open. She looked around like she expected someone, anyone, to come to her defense. No one said a word. She stared at me, eyes burning with pure hatred, as security walked her out of the building. I didn't say a thing. I just watched her go. But even then, it wasn't quite over. Because sometimes, even when you win, the aftershocks still hit. Rumors started flying around the company. Some people who had been friendly with Melissa started whispering behind my back, acting cold toward me. Some seemed to blame me for what happened to her, like I was the bad guy for snitching. There were days I questioned myself. Wondered if maybe I should have just kept my head down, let it go. But then I remembered what she had done, not just to me, but to herself. She made her choices. I just refused to let her walk all over me. And every time I sat in another meeting, leading another project, getting another bonus, I remembered, I didn't get here because of diversity. I got here because I earned it. Melissa was gone, but the poison she left behind lingered. For months after her firing, a small group of employees kept their distance from me. I wasn't stupid, I could feel the tension. See the looks when I walked into a room. They didn't say it out loud, but I could hear it in the silence. She got Melissa fired. She thinks she's better than us now. At first, I tried to ignore it. I thought if I kept working hard, it would go away. It didn't. In fact, it got worse. One day, about 6 months after Melissa's firing, my manager called me in again. His face was tight, serious. "We're doing some restructuring," he said. "We want you to know, you're being considered for a director role." It was a massive jump. A life-changing promotion. But there was a catch. Some of the same people who had whispered behind my back, who had made it clear they resented me, were also being considered. And a few of them were already working behind the scenes to sabotage my chances. I found out through a friend in HR that there was a private Slack group, a few of the old guard, the ones still bitter about Melissa, where they traded screenshots, half-truths, and petty rumors about me. They called me arrogant. Said I was only out for myself. Said I was a problem. The worst part? Some of what they said wasn't completely false. After everything with Melissa, I had pulled away from people. I didn't trust anyone. I stopped offering help unless it was asked for. I stopped smiling in meetings, stopped making small talk. I had gotten cold. I had built walls so high that even the good people couldn't get through. The day of the final decision came. 2 names were left on the list. Mine and Mark, one of the loudest voices from the private Slack group. HR called us in separately to give us the results. I sat across from the VP and my manager, waiting, heart pounding. The VP smiled. "Congratulations," he said. "The director position is yours." I sat there, stunned for a second. Then I smiled, a real one, for the first time in months. "Thank you," I said quietly. As I walked back to my desk, I passed Mark in the hallway. He gave me a long, hard stare. His face was full of the same twisted bitterness I had seen in Melissa's the day I got promoted. And just like Melissa, Mark couldn't take it. He quit 2 weeks later. Sent a nasty, bitter resignation email accusing the company of favoritism and corruption. Another one gone. Another one who tried to bury me, and ended up burying themselves instead. But here's the thing, winning didn't feel as sweet as I thought it would. Standing at the top, alone, didn't feel like a victory. I realized I hadn't just beaten Melissa and Mark. I had let them change me. I had become hard, cold, closed off, everything they accused me of being. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. But it was real. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to keep living like I was still fighting a war. I started opening up again. Started mentoring younger employees, especially the ones who felt like outsiders. Started being the kind of leader I wished I had when I first started. I didn't do it for the company. I did it for myself. Because revenge had gotten me here. But rebuilding? That was the real victory.